Hey guys, so today I'm going to go through a list of my favorite methods and resources for traveling on a budget. So I'll go through the four main categories of what you spend money on. So we've got flights.
I brought 3 hats.
Accommodation. Food.
Just gonna bite it.
And transportation. So the first thing that you typically buy when you're going on a trip is the flight, obviously. Now there are a couple of resources for this for some good deals on flights, and my favorite one is called Skyscanner. Basically, it allows you to search any destination from where you are, and you can choose the cheapest one. You can also look at the whole month going to that particular destination and find the cheapest date. So really the key here is to be flexible. If you are flexible on where you want to go and when you want to go, you can save a lot of money. So I use Skyscanner, that's the first one I go to, but there are other websites that are, I'd say, just as good. I just happen to use Skyscanner more than others, but it's definitely a good idea to cross-reference between the other ones. So the other ones I typically will use is Momondo and Kayak. You can obviously check out the airlines themselves, go to their websites before booking. It's another good idea, but that's the best way of doing it. And as with everything else in travel, the best way to save money is to go off-season. If you want to go to the Mediterranean in July and August, you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more than if you were to want to go in, say, September. Typically, the shoulder seasons are the best because the weather's not that much different, but you get way less crowds and prices are way lower. For example, Dan and I paid around $300 in March for our flights from Toronto to Lisbon. Alright, so the second category is accommodation. Most of the time we stay in hostels, and so Hostel World is a great place to go to check for prices. They're way cheaper than hotels for the most part, and they're a great place to meet people. I mean, they're really social environments, and they're not nearly as scary as a lot of people seem to think they are. They're very secure.
So we're in a hostel, and I didn't realize that it came with a feature. And
Now, if you want to get a really good deal on a hostel, a lot of times it's totally possible to go in and negotiate a rate. So this works, again, better in off-season and shoulder season, not so much in the high season where it's going to be a lot harder to find a room because they're all basically booked up. Another great way of traveling cheaply with accommodation is Airbnb. So we did this a couple times, and it's great to have your own place for once. If you're sick of staying in hostels and sleeping next to somebody who snores or stinks, Airbnb is a great alternative, and especially when you have multiple people. So we did it several times when Amy was with us, so the price was split into 3 for the night.
We're in Portimao right now. We got this Airbnb. It was 36 euros a night, split between 3 people. That's 12 euros a night each, so around 18 Canadian dollars.
And it's really amazing how great of a deal you can get on some Airbnbs. Again, it's totally possible to negotiate a rate. If you're not willing to pay the full price and they have empty rooms, they'll likely drop their price in order to let you in. Another alternative is camping. If you have your own camping equipment.
we found a tent for fairly cheap.
22 euros, can't get that in Canada. It's totally feasible to go to a campsite, and rates are typically quite cheap in comparison to even hostels. Sometimes, however, campsites can be totally overpriced, so it's really just, it's not worth it. So in transportation, a lot of people like to, especially around Europe, a lot of people like to take the train, and a lot of people get these Eurail passes. I don't suggest it. I've never done it. I've always found that buses are way cheaper than trains. I mean, yeah, they're not quite the same. I mean, they're typically more cramped, slower, but when you look at the prices, it's makes it worth it. Another great option is doing ride sharing. Ride sharing is basically getting a ride with somebody who's going to your destination and paying them a bit of gas money. So one of the best websites for this is BlaBlaCar. There are a few other options depending on which country you're in, but BlaBlaCar is kind of the most universal. Prices are way cheaper than even buses, and a lot of the time you get to meet some really cool people.
Also, I think in the seats.
They'll be really helpful, and a lot of people will give you some really good tips on where you're going because they're typically from that area. So for food, the best way of saving money if you're either at an Airbnb or staying in hostels is to make sure that they have a working kitchen.
It's breakfast for under €2.
For 3 people.
Now, I love cooking, so this would be something that I do anyway. But for some of you, I know that cooking is not really a strong point, which is why I'm going to be starting a playlist soon enough on simple hostel recipes and cooking in a hostel with very limited experience and equipment. It's also a lot of fun cooking on the road because you get to learn from other people staying in your hostel. It often becomes a very communal thing where groups of people will get together and they'll cook and they'll teach each other how to do certain recipes. Also, what I like to do is when I actually do go out to eat and try a local dish, I'll try to emulate that or make my own version of it after trying it. If you're not interested in cooking, I mean, street food is typically the cheapest way of going. In Europe, kebab stores are basically everywhere, and they're really often the cheapest option. I mean, they're not gourmet, but they're still delicious and very affordable. But one rule is that you should definitely try and eat where the locals eat as opposed to tourist traps, which are going to be overpriced. If you do decide to eat in a restaurant, it's best to try and get them at off hours. A lot of places in Europe have higher prices during dinner time as opposed to lunchtime. So if you're gonna may have a big meal out, lunchtime is often the best time to go. So that's it. Those are the 4 basic categories. We use these resources and methods on our last trip quite a bit, but we also use some other methods for traveling for free, basically. So I'm gonna make another video about that later on how to travel virtually for free. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if there are any other tips, tricks, or resources that I've missed.